And then it makes me think back to I've run cameras on like these scrapes for years, and it's like, is that the use of that scrape being affected by that camera being there?
Yeah.
I think maybe. I think in some instances it absolutely has. So it's just weird because sometimes in some setups it seems like they don't care with the same brand of camera, the same everything's the same, but then in another time they'll like wig out and like look at it and be like, "What's that?" I've had bucks literally bed right in front of trail cameras, mature bucks, for like 3 hours, like right there. Don't even look at it for 3 hours. They're just sitting there bedding, looking around. They'll never look at the camera, not even one time. So it's like, well, you would think that if I've had them do that at night, I've had them do it during the day. Why? What's the difference? I don't know, but there's something.
Welcome to the Just Hunt podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Just Hunt podcast. It is episode 39. Well, it's more than I thought.
It's been a little bit.
But it has been a little bit. I've been in the 30s for a while now. Can't seem to crawl out of them. But, yeah, hunting season's been busy, obviously. I hunted a lot. Matt's hunted a lot. Really, everybody's been hunting a lot, so it's tough to shoot them. But it's starting to wind down. I would say, for the most part, they're done in the Northeast.
Yeah, unless you're hunting Mass the next.
Yeah, Mass, I think Rhode Island goes late. And potentially Connecticut. I'm not really sure. And then New York hunt starts in a few days. It's just before Christmas, by the way, if you're watching this. So it's starting to wind down. I think there's a lot of places that are open. We still got PA Flintlock is coming up, and Ohio Muzzleloader. Iowa Muzzleloader opened, late Muzzleloader opened yesterday, and I have a tag for that. So I'll be headed out there here in the next, definitely I'd say within the next week-ish. Maybe a touch after. I'm just kind of playing the weather there. But essentially the rut's over. Rut hunting's over. A lot of the mountain hunting's over. I'm not sure some of the western states, I think they're starting to wrap too. But I know that maybe some of the southern states go pretty late, like the Southern Appalachian chain, like Virginia and the Carolinas, some of those, Tennessee. I think those go a little later.
Yeah, even Jersey has that late season.
That's true, yeah. So, really, yeah, in our little world for rut hunting whitetails in the mountains, it's kind of over. But there's still plenty of stuff. It's a lot of the seasons go through January, so you could potentially have 5+ more weeks. So anyway, we'll touch upon kind of the season here, I would say, and basically talk about the mountains, the big woods, how it hunted this year. I am eating tag soup in the mountains this year. Yeah. To be honest, I've shot some does, but the last maybe one doe. No, I shot 2 does. Not in the mountains, no. I haven't shot a buck since September 6th. So it's been
started off hot and then
honestly, I don't feel like I had a bad season. I just feel like it didn't have much luck, if that makes sense. I felt like I was on deer the whole year. I was right there. I just literally till the end I was on deer, close on them. It's just didn't come through, and that's fine. I'm not so concerned about that.
Yeah, lots of daylight pictures, and then
daylight
one particular
pictures
that you were trying to kill.
Yeah, and then another one after he was, I believe, was killed. Right on him. It just didn't come together, which I'm not really that upset about. And I know that at least I believe 2 of those bucks that I was kind of after made it. But I got to hunt. I didn't go to Canada. This is the first year I haven't been to Canada, but mostly because I was home trying to shoot the deer that I was after. But I got to hunt PA, which is awesome. Big woods there. I have an Ohio tag still. I never went there. I was going to go and then decided not to last minute and stay home. but I still have that tag.
Yeah, I was on the fence about doing that late season muzzleloader in Ohio this year, and the landowner actually told us that don't come. He'd give us our money back.
Oh, really?
Because they got hit in that little pocket pretty hard. Yeah.
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 Yeah, EHD's been really tough in southeastern Ohio. The farm that I hunt, both of them, there's a couple different areas of Ohio. I don't think either of those were hit. I'm not sure, but I don't think they were. I know at least that the buck that I was going to go hunt when I bought my license, he was alive in November, so I don't think he got it. So, yeah, it's like I said, I don't feel like I had a bad season at all.
No, I mean,
like I'm not like, oh man, I didn't feel. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like that's completely fine.
Did you have one good encounter in? Was that muzzleloader? Or am I imagining that? I thought you had
this year.
Yep.
I never saw the buck, but he was like within 60 yards of me, 50 yards maybe. Like he was behind spruce, and I just had I didn't even see him. I just had a camera over there, and I was like, what? I was like, you're like looking after like dark. You're like looking at the picture, be like, that's where I am. Like, how did I not see that deer? But he just must have snaked in. It was windy too, so it was like tough. You couldn't hear. It was tough to even see him with the wind. Obviously, just a lot of stuff moving. But he came in, high winds, and then I think he just must have he might either got me or he just came in and worked the scraper on the other side. He didn't even work the scraper; he just walked through it. But walked through the scrape, and then kind of went back the way he came, I think. And that was on November 1st or 2nd. I can't remember which day. Maybe, I don't remember. Yeah, 1st or 2nd. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess if you had a great season, I would say.
Yeah. So my goal going into the year was like, I don't want to buy any meat from the store next year if that's possible. Because I had raised a bunch of meat chickens last summer. That was the first time I had done that. So I'm just kind of trying to make the transition into it. But I kind of did the math. My girlfriend and I both eat a lot of meat. So I figured 5 deer was like the goal.
Yeah.
I figured that was a pretty lofty goal. But I was lucky enough. Buddy had given me some meat beginning of the season. Got that in there and then killed a doe early with my bow. Ended up family's got some property over in New York. We went over with my brother. We both shot a couple does. Well, I shot one. He shot 2. Killed a buck during with my rifle in New Hampshire, and then had an M tag and was able to fill that with a muzzleloader also.
So you got 4.
So I got 4 myself, and then some meat from a buddy. So
are you done hunting, or are you?
I went to Vermont. I tracked a few days. Was close to some deer and just didn't. I saw a spike, didn't shoot it. And had got on a few others. There was really good conditions actually, and it was like midweek, so there wasn't much around after. Once the weekend passed and people went back to work, it was actually I found a spot with a lot of deer, and there were nobody else was in there. So, I don't even remember when that was. It was like around the 20th, I believe. But I thought I was gonna keep going back up there, and then work and stuff was busy and had a couple things. My brother just had a baby, so he just got back to work. So I was going to try and go hunt with him, and that didn't work out, and I didn't really want to go up by myself. So I just didn't work out. I thought about hunting mass too, but I don't know. I feel kind of content with how the season's gone. I don't really.
Well,
I don't need the meat, so I was like.
Okay, so you're good on meat. I was going to say.
I'm good on meat. Yeah. My brother had. I had thought he didn't get a chance to go out that much this year. He got 2, but they'll burn through that. So I had thought about trying to film. I tried to fill my M tag to just give him a doe, and wasn't able to do that.
I probably could use a couple more, a deer or 2 for steak. Like I got a lot of ground venison and ground bear, so pretty good set on that. But I do like some prime cuts. So I do have a doe hanging in my barn in New York right now that I need to. I'll be out there shortly, and it's been cold, so
plenty cold.
and it's not. It should be actually perfect. I know Doug will tell you that, like we had Doug Delaney from the cutting barn. He'll be like, yeah, you shouldn't just leave them in your barn. I know, and that is probably not the best practice. But I did look at the forecast, and I was like, I'm coming back in like a week and a half or whatever.
Yeah,
and
you got Kyle there too.
And I got Kyle. And it's
weather was going to be weird.
It's in an enclosed barn, like it's not like it's out in the elements, and it stays cool. Like it just stays the same temperature in there. Like it's actually it's just like any outbuilding, how it stays cool during the day, and then at night it doesn't get as cold. It just kind of stays at that constant, probably just at freezing or just above. And it really hasn't been many temperature swings. It's been between like I'd say 20 and low 40s, which is pretty perfect. So that deer's hanging. I need to kill more out there as well, and I have I shot 2, and I think I got 3 more tags that are my own doe tags, and then I got stuff that guy signed over to me, so I could probably shoot 5 more.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll have the time with Iowa to do that. But then in Iowa, you have to buy a doe tag there. This is part of like the deal. When you buy a buck tag, you have to buy a doe tag. So I have a doe tag and a buck tag. And the last time I was there, I shot a buck, and then I just kept sitting for like an hour, and I shot a doe right after. It's like, well, why not? I'm here, and I got the tag. So, and they need to be shot because there's a lot of the density is high, so I might as well. So
yeah,
I should have no problem over the next 2 weeks getting plenty of venison for the freezer. And I'm decently set now as is. So
I was not expecting the season to go the way it did, so I feel super fortunate for that. And like I said, I thought I was gonna go chase more bucks around, and I kind of gave it a good go for a few days. I went up there for 4 or 5 days and hit it pretty hard, and then after that I was like, no, I think I'm all right.
Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I guess we can kind of get into the mountain. I think I did. So looking back at my strategy, I've kind of come to.
So you hunted hard all the way through.
I hunted pretty hard, yeah.
You were hunting mornings to make it with work
so I was getting away. It was pretty brutal, honestly, driving and waking up and then trying to get in the work into the office. Yeah, it was pushing it, but it was like, hey, I got 1 really good deer and then 2 other really, pretty good ones too. Then any other year, I'd say a really good deer. But I had one that was probably one of the biggest typicals I've ever hunted in the Northeast, so I was after him. And so I was like, well, I have the time. I can pull that off with just the workflow and the mix we have at the office. I can take mornings. So I was hunting, basically, hunted pretty hard till November 22nd, I think. And then we ended up going out to the farms for Thanksgiving with the family. So I took that week. And I hunted out there too, but not that I wasn't hunting for a buck, but I wasn't hunting like the same. I wasn't hunting hard for a buck out there. I was just kind of hunting, shot a doe, had some people out. So I hunted then too, but I wouldn't I would separate that and say that was a separate thing than like the mountain hunting. But I started basically I hunted, I think the 1st is when I started. It was open a day of muzzleloader. When was that, the 1st? I'm trying to remember when it was. Right around there. It might have been Halloween. It would have been, November 1st. That's Saturday. I think we had a good front then, too. So, anyway, I started then, and I basically took, maybe 3 days off between November 1st and the 22nd. So, I hunted almost 20 days straight. Not all day for 20 days, but at least the mornings until 10 or 11, which I think is probably, if you're going to hunt, you had to pick a time of day during November, you should probably hunt the mornings till about 10 or 11. That's what all my data suggests over the years. I kind of was like, how can I be in the woods more? How can I be in the woods more but still be able to do my job to an extent, some version of it, and then also be at home? And so it was like basically get up early, an hour and a half earlier than I would normally have to if I was like camping or staying at the rut camp. Drive up, go in and hunt till 10 or 11, hike out. And it was taking me. So the spot I hunted, I split it up. So I actually started in one spot, and then this is kind of based on just like historical data. I didn't think it made sense to hunt for like 20 days in the same stand. Just based like stuff seems like there's areas that are hotter early rut versus late rut type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to play that to an extent. And so I started where I ended, and actually it's where we almost killed the one buck, tracking. So it's a good spot, but then in the middle I kind of moved to a different area that I thought the dates suited better historically. But both the spots, the one spot was not too tough to get into. It was like a how far? Mile and a half four-wheeler ride, maybe 2 miles, whatever, something like that. 20-minute four-wheeler ride. Through some rough stuff, so it took 20 minutes because it was not like just like a nice four-wheeler trail.
Not a nice four-wheeler trail, no.
And then maybe a three-quarter mile hike up, and it just wasn't like too bad. But the other one was more like 2 miles, and it was a long hike, and not on like hardly any trails, maybe a trail for like a couple hundred yards, and then it was just like side hilling, and it was tough. So it was like, hike in an hour, sit from 6 to 10 or 11, then hike out an hour, get in the truck, drive over an hour to the office, try to get everything done there. And then
would you like change in the truck, or what would you?
No, I mean just at the truck. Yeah. Back in some clothes that are presentable in the office. And then drive to, work till 4-ish. So I was in the office for, 3 or 4 hours every day trying to get everything that needed to be done. And then going home and trying to take care of the kids and do all that stuff. And then try to get everything done at home so that I can go to bed pretty early because I'm getting up at like 3. You know what I mean? So it's like, it got pretty tiring. When I started hunting all day, though, which I think was right on the 15th I might have started. I'm sure I have to look. Yeah, right around the 15th. I started hunting all day. That's when I think it makes the most sense to. Maybe it was the 14th or 15th. I started hunting all day, and so I was actually staying up there, so I was out of work and not home. Because there's no way you could do the all-day sit, and then, that's just – you could do it for a couple days, but driving, 3 hours a day, and it's just – it's not
too
happening.
much.
It's no sleep. It's just brutal. So anyway, that's the first time that I've put that many hours in that many days, I should say. And I think I learned a couple things. There's 2 things that I think one really big thing we'll talk about second, but that is a new thing for me that I'm starting to really think there's some validity to. But the first thing is that, and it's nothing new, but when you're hunting for 20 days versus a week or 10 days, I really think your winds and access has to be dialed that much more. Because instead of coming and going like 10 times and maybe encountering that buck after a week or whatever, you're going in there for like almost 3 weeks. When you're going to an area for 3 weeks every day, you're definitely having some impact on the area, regardless of how big those bucks range and how far they're coming. You're gonna leave scent, and those bucks are gonna encounter it probably 1 or 2 or even 3 times, maybe 5 times during that 20 days. So that's a thing that I kind of am like, man, I do feel that by the end of it, I was probably making a significant negative impact on that area. That's what I felt based on what I saw. I'll say, too, by the way, in those 20 days, I saw 2 deer.
Both little bucks, right?
Both little bucks. I did hunt for 5 days in October before that on cold fronts, and I hunted, and I saw 2 bucks as well. So I saw like a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then I saw a 1.5 years and a 2-year-old all year. So that was like 25-ish days, 4 bucks. So not great odds, no does.
When you say that that's what you were seeing, you're saying trail camera wise, daylight activity.
Just the fact
when they were
that I
showing
was
up, or was
sitting,
it whether or not they were showing up at all on camera?
Honestly, it was more we'll get to the trail camera thing. Yes to the trail camera a little bit, but not. I wasn't weighing that heavily on that. It was more so that maybe they were showing up on trail cameras where I wasn't. But I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in that. I think it's more so that I sat for 20 plus days, 20 plus hunts, we'll say, in proven historical, really good areas during really good weather fronts, and I didn't see much. And I could see, I mean, I would have expected to see more than I did, I guess, if I wasn't having a negative impact. If I had seen 6 or 7 bucks in 20-something days, I'd be like, yeah, just didn't see them. But I don't think, like, and there was one stand in particular that's probably the best spots where we hunted last year and where we were into the other buck the other day, where I think that's probably the most, it has been the last 2 years the most active spot that I know of for the rut. And that doesn't mean that, like, it's always going to be that way. But to go from the most active spot to, like, I didn't see a deer there, and I hunted that a lot. I hunted that spot probably at least 10 of those days, at least half the time I was there, if not more, maybe more. I think that was having a negative impact. So 2 things is my access was, I believe, to be decent, and I think it's something that you could get away with for, like, 3 to 5 days, like, going in and out. There's a pretty good chance that you're not going to cross a buck's path. Like, he's not going to cross your path. But I do think they do go through there. It's periodically. And so when you're talking over 20 days, he might have crossed it twice. And I think this is the bigger thing, is that when you come and go on the same path for 20 days, like, there's a trail, like a deer trail that you made in the ground.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a deer trail. And so you think about your boots twice a day for 20, that's 40, maybe not, maybe I'm exaggerating. Say 10 times. That's 20 different trips with your boots. And maybe that buck crosses and he smells you from today and yesterday, and they can age scent. So he's like, holy shit, this is like fucking a human highway. I'm probably going to avoid this little area, right? So I think that's something to consider. So, like, I think if you're doing that, like, and they're encountering you, 500 yards from your stand, or 6 or 7, whatever, like half mile, not such a big deal. But I do think there was probably a couple spots, a couple liabilities, if you will, with my entry route, where I don't feel that I was bumping deer coming in and going out. I just think that probably at some point one came through, and it's like, when you have that, it must have just smelled like a human slick going down the mountain, and it's like, I think that probably tips them off. That's not normal for them to smell. Like, they encounter a boot track every once in a while. Oh, it's a day old, 7 hours old, 3 days, whatever. I don't think they care. But when they are like, what the hell is this? And it's when you're hunting for that long too, that many consecutive days, it's really difficult to stay, like, keep your stuff super clean. Yeah. Like, it's just the reality of it is it's extremely hard. And you got a camera guy with you that's not always maybe realizing this, and, like, they may not be as diligent with trying to keep their shit clean, and I don't blame them, but
it's also double the boot scent when you're going in there.
So that's another point. Yeah. It's 40. Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm thinking now that
maybe overdid it in that.
Maybe I overdid that. Maybe I should have. Maybe I need to find, if I'm going to do that in the future, I need to find access that's, I don't know what access. I need to think about it. It's actually something I'm going to think really hard about in the off season, is because I think that 2 of the deer, they're still going to be there, and I have an idea of, like, kind of a circuit they're running.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find twofold, and I'll get to the second part of this. I'm trying to find an area that I can get into and out of every day without impacting the area, which this is not a new thing. It's just, like, it's super heightened when you're in there for 10, 15 days. When you're in there for a week during the peak of the rut, I think you're okay. It's just when you start early November and you're there till late November, it's like that starts to. The second thing is the wind. Now, what I found in this spot is if you have calm winds up to maybe like 0 miles an hour to maybe 10 or 12, that spot was great. It was absolutely money with the wind. But when we had like 4 or 5 days in that period where it was like 15 to 25.
Yeah,
particularly when we got into the high teens, into the 20s. What I found was that wind was just, for whatever reason, and it still is, I don't know exactly why. I have an idea.
What was it turning? Was it turning over?
Yeah,
on
it was coming
there?
back. It was coming off, but it was blowing off this top.
Yeah.
And you'd think there was nothing there to bring it back, but maybe it was just wrapping down and doing something down below, and I don't know. It was like a high wind thing, but like I was sitting there and it was like good, bad. Like I was like, oh, what the heck's this? And it kept doing that. And I mean, it was like, at one point it was like 3 or 4 days where it was just kept doing that. And it's like, for a day or an afternoon or a few hours, if it's doing, you're like, all right. But we think about, like, once again, it's just like the saturation of scent and impact. They smell you one time, catch a little whiff, maybe not the end of the world, but like, man, every time for the past, maybe even the doe is in there. Every time we go over there the past week, we've smelled the human. Like, they're going to avoid the area.
Yeah.
I think that you have more leniency in the big woods and in the mountains with that, as far as the deer density is low, so the chances of them encountering you or your scent are lower in general. But when you're talking about those long duration and periods, I think it's really important. So those are the two things with my setup. I thought that spot was awesome and bulletproof, and after, I don't think it is to an extent of hunting it for 10 to 12 days. I think that if I picked a 3-day window or maybe a 5-day window where, I had to look at what's going on and look at, I have west winds and they're going to be calm to 10, sunny-ish days. So I play the thermals. The thermals are great there when they're working. Probably fine. Probably can pull it off for, 3 to 5. But 12 days when you have a variation of weather and you have those high winds, and it's just, I think I hurt myself.
What are your thoughts on a bike to get up in there? You could get pretty close, except for that last little bit.
We think so?
Yeah, I mean, where we
have not used a bike other than I've rode buddies e-bikes. It's like around a yard, but I've
never.
In my mind, you'd struggle on a lot of that. I feel like with a bike. I may be wrong, but I think you'd. I don't know that you could. Maybe wrong though. I mean, I think that'd be great. I think that'd be awesome. I think it's also though, when you're on a bike going through the woods, it's not like, it's a skid road for part of it, but you're still like hitting vegetation on your body. I think it's less about like the sole of your. I mean, it is about that too, but it's less about it's not only the sole of your boot on the ground, but it's the vegetation, the spruce and the beech leaves that you're hitting. You're walking through. So there's that too. So you'd have to like almost make a path, I think, to minimize it. But that would be a good. If I could figure that out, that may be. And I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think how I can hunt this area, because I don't have to be right there. I can be. Like those bucks were cruising that area, and I had a couple other cameras that were super active. And I have, and it's funny because I have a really good spot. It's just once again, and I have good access, but it's like 3 miles.
Yeah.
To get in from that side. And I've done it. I did it early, and I would do it for like 2 or 3 nights in late September or October. And that's fine. But when you're talking about, once again, like add another hour to your walk in and 3, it's like in your walk out, you're talking.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where it's difficult. I could pull it off for a period of time, but once again, I don't think I can do it for 10 days. Like I think it's just like I don't say it's too much. So the other part is that to get to that access point, it's a significant drive because I'm on the other side of the mountain range. So I'm going to have to, like where we can stay or camp, it's just harder to get to. So it's actually not just another mile or 2 walk. It's also like a 10 to 15 mile drive to get, you know what I mean? So it's like it's a lot more. It's a lot more. My access is good there. Although I do fear that like it will end up being a similar situation even over there. So I don't know. Maybe the answer is some of these spots, unless you just have the perfect spot, after a week you're going to burn out pretty much 7 to 10 days. You're going to burn out
Yeah, I mean,
any of these spots. I don't know.
Short of like a creek you can walk up or some type of water access. That's like
yeah. So if you had,
that's not that spot.
If you had if you nope, maybe water from like the sky and the rain, but if you had like a big lake you could get to and you were hunting just off and you were maybe in a big bottom where the wind was really consistent, and I say big as in wide, like a huge bottom complex, not like a bottom between mountains, somewhere where the wind was consistent, you had a lot of prevailing winds, and maybe you just had to go 50 yards from the water to get there. I think that spots like that, and those are great spots, period. It's tough to find that spot up in the mountains, I guess is what I'm saying. I will say the other thing is that my access, I won't say exactly how, but my access to one of the stands I was hunting was affected significantly this year, and I couldn't go the normal way that I used to go, which I think was good access. So it made it even more difficult and this wasn't the stand I'm talking about, but it was another stand that I spent a significant amount of time in. I also saw all the deer from that stand, so maybe I shouldn't have left it. I don't know. So I think my takeaway is that you probably, unless you have one of these bulletproof setups where it's like we said, the pond or the lake, consistent winds. I'm trying to think of another one. If you had a really steep saddle with like boulders going down one side, one drainage going up that's like super steep that the deer just really aren't running through, which I kind of had for that first spot, and that's kind of what I mean. Like I had really good. I think maybe you could get away with it. You just have to really think about this, and it's more about you want to be in a good spot, but it's more about the access and the wind when you're talking about staying for 10, 20 days, right? Like hunting. And that's not realistic for most people to do either. Like that's not I don't know how applicable this is for most people, because who goes and sits for like almost 20 days? Not many.
Not many. And that's like the weather is not going to stay the same for that long. It's going to inevitably be different.
Although I'll tell you what, the wind was.
If it was bad, you wouldn't have hunted it, so it must have been fairly consistent.
Pretty damn consistent for the whole month. It was wild. We had good weather. We had really good. It was cold all November. The weather was great. That's another thing that was interesting is the weather was great. I don't know how much impact the weather has on the rut. The more I hunt, I don't know that it does. It does, but I don't think it's a huge impact. But the weather was great. So that was kind of the thing. I'm like, man, I need to. What I'd never done is hunted that spot on like a 20-mile-an-hour wind. I'd never been in there necessarily and tested it. So I didn't have any experience. I'd only hunted it on I've hunted it a few times. I've hunted that stand. I did hunt it for a week 2 years ago. Not right there, but right on the same terrain feature.
Yeah.
The wind was good. I had good winds for about a week, but it never got super windy. And it was cold. It was similar conditions, but it never got super windy. I was in a little bit different spot that was about 100 yards away, and I think maybe that may have made a difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the takeaway. It's the second takeaway. It's a bigger one. Is I am beginning to think, and I don't know if it's trail cameras in general or cell cameras or both, I'm beginning to think that they are negatively affecting the stand and scrape locations that I put them on. And I know people will be like, well, duh, but I haven't necessarily seen that in previous years. I think that I'm not saying they're like magnets for deer, but I've had pretty good consistent pictures. But this year, I felt like they affected particularly one deer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Particularly one deer, but also
the
other one, not the big one that died. He didn't seem to mind him. But the other one, in that spot, this is kind of like part two. So I guess
is that the spot where you said you moved the camera?
Yeah, so it was on a bench-ish, kind of it was more like a top, but it was on the lip of the mountain. and there's a cruising trail right on the lip, and it drops off steep. And then about 25, 30 yards from the cruising trail, there's an little oak. It's kind of like a bench, but it's really subtle. It's like there's a top, and then it kind of comes off, and it benches, then it drops steep off. But they run the rim here of this, like, it's a big point on a mountain is what it is. But it's not like it's a bigger point, and they run around it. And there's does on that point, and there's oak. And so I always had a camera on. Was like 2 big scrapes about 25 yards up the mountain or off on the flat in the oaks. And I had one camera on there, and I've had that there for 2 years now. It's been like one of my best cameras. And I had all the deer I wanted. There was 3 good deer in there, which was like pretty damn good year. Like to have 3 big bucks like in the same spot. I was like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And they all had used it in previous years as well. And they were like younger before, but like they're all 5+. We're all 5+ this year. So I had, the one was 6, so it was 2 5-year-olds and a 6-year-old, essentially what it was. And so they'd all been there. So anyway, I am like, this is how my mind works. This is my best spot. Like I want to know everything about it. So I'm like, I'm going to put more cameras right there. And I'm like, I'm not covering that trail where the deer are cruising, but I'm covering the scrape. And it's like almost like they have to get off the exit to the highway to get off the gas station and pit stop and then get back on. Well, I want to cover the highway in case they don't do that. So I put one on that trail, and like, I don't want to say it was like right, like in the trail, like, but it was like kind of, it was visible. I'll say that. And I had, the first buck I had cruise by it was a young deer, and it was during daylight, and he came, basically it was quartering the trail, and he came like this. Mm-hmm. He didn't look at it. He just kept going. And I was like, oh, cool. I know they're using that trail, but it's like, all right, that's good to see younger deer cruising it. And then it was like 1 or 2 nights later, I got one. It wasn't the big one, but one of the big ones, the other 5-year-old in there. First video is him like way up the trail, like looking at the camera, and he's just standing there looking at it. And then he's like kind of like, And then I get him like circling it, like out towards the scrape, but then I get him on the scrape. So he just kind of like, I don't know, he went back. I don't know what he did. I have no idea. And so I was like, oh, he saw that, and I'm like, damn, that's kind of sucks. And then I had like, I think another video of another buck doing that, and I'm like, I think that was a terrible idea to put that camera on that trail. That's like the trail I'm hunting. And I didn't see a deer on that damn trail for almost 10 days. And so I'm wondering, I think number 2, I think that screwed up the spot too. So you get the wind issue. And I really just think I blew up the whole spot with my approach. And like looking back, I don't think I needed even a camera there. And if I did,
you had enough to tell you.
I had enough. Like I had enough. I don't need a camera there. And I actually cut back, honestly, this year, probably like I probably had half the cameras in that area that I had the year before. And I felt fine. Like I got to the point where I had so many, and I was like, I want to learn everything. And I was just like, you'd find a scrape. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're there. It's like, there's no secret spot that I found. Like there's no, it's a good area. They're in the area. It's kind of random, but they're hitting these scrapes. You just need to sit on one of these good scrapes or one of these good trails they've been through and put your time in and not screw it up, which I think I did. And so I just was like, I don't need to know everything they do. It got to the point where I was like, it was like too much for me. Like this was last 24. So I cut half of them out of there. But what I did, which I would have done different this year, is I put all the ones I had in like the freaking like 2 or 3 on like the high focal points of where I was going to hunt, like right near my stands. I think that was a mistake. I think I should not run them right there and maybe run them in some of those other areas to know that they're around there where I'm not going to hunt. The other thing that I think I'm going to do is I have always loved putting the cameras at eye level of the deer and pretty damn close to them. Like, I love the videos. I love the pictures. I love to get really good images of these animals to tell what they are, how old they are. I love that. It's part of, like, me. I like to study deer. Like, that's part of what I like to do. But I do think that it's negatively impacting. One example, I know we talked about it too, really, but one of the bucks in there, the 6-year-old, I know he's like camera shy. Like we don't get him a lot, but I feel like he's just there. It's just like I know he's in there, but he's there, but we don't get any pictures of him. We probably get him. I'd say probably 10 times in like a year, 10 different pictures, instances. I mean, usually like 2 or 3 are in daylight. And it's like pretty sporadic. Like we'll get them in velvet 2 or 3 times. Then we'll get them once in September, and then once or twice in October, and then maybe 4 or 5 times in November or whatever. Like maybe it's 15, whatever. But like we're talking in 4 or 5 months. So it's 2 or 3 times a month we get his picture. But it just seems like I think he's just right there. And so anyway, he had a trail that he kind of crossed this log road, came off the mountain, went into this big bottom. And I actually named the trail, like the camera location and the trail, I call it the 6x trail because he's a 6x6, and I call it that. And it was like I put a cell right on that trail this year, and I like didn't get him on there, like I think at all. I'm like, what the hell? I know he's right there. What the hell's going on? Like where? I know he crosses here. I'm like, he's going down there because I actually had a camera in the bottom, and I was getting him in the bottom, and I get him up high.
Yeah,
I was like, how is he getting there? He's definitely going by here. So one of the days when I was coming out, I was going along that log road, and I'm like, slowed really down, and I'm looking, and I find another faint trail about 40 yards or 50 yards from the other one, and it hadn't been there before. Like I hadn't seen it in years past, and it's like, is he just like skirting this camera? So I'm like, so I took the camera, of course, and moved it to the other trail because like, oh, that's what he's doing. Not thinking like, dude, he's not going down that trail because you have a camera right on it. That's why I think that's why he was avoiding it. So I put the camera there, and like 2 days later at night, he comes off the mountain and he walks right out and he just goes, and he looks at it and he goes, and he turns and he just like walks, does like the big, like walks away from it, like looking at it, like I do not like that. And I'm like, and then guess what?
Didn't go there.
Wasn't on that camera again. And so I'm like, what am I doing with these freaking things? What am I doing? Like, I think for that deer, and maybe this other one too, it's a huge negative to have those cameras in these spots. So I'm like, 2 things I'm going to do. I'm just going to try it. I'm going to run less of them in spots that I plan on hunting. I know historically, and I will say that if you have an area you don't know, I think you'd probably run them. Like, I don't think you can get away from them if you're trying to target a big deer and you're trying to get information. But once you have the info, I almost just think it's better to pull them off. Like, I probably, once I figure out exactly how to hunt that area next year, like where I want to be, and some of it's going to be the stand locations I've been in the past, but some of them are probably, I'm going to try to figure out a couple tweaks. I probably won't even run a camera there at all. Like, I don't need it. I know that they're there. That's all I need to know. It's like, and I was realizing that more and more this year. Had I hunted chase camera pictures, I wouldn't have killed those deer either. Like, I don't think I would have killed them either. So it was like, so then what do I need to, I don't need pictures of them in the spot I'm going to hunt. Just need to know they're in the area. They're doing the same general thing. You can get a picture of a buck 300-400 yards from where you end up hunting them, knowing that they're on that same line of travel, right? Like, that's fine. They're going to go through, like, through the area if you have historical data on it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to run less of them, and I'm probably not going to run them near my stands. And then I'm going to, the ones I do, I think I'm backing them off another 5 yards further, probably like double the distance that I have been. And I'm putting them up in trees, and I'm doing my best to like camouflage them as far as like try to get them in spots that have some, like, they're just not on a bald tree, like try to do something.
Yeah, I think that'll be really interesting to see if it's the visual aspect or if there is some type of like noise that they're picking up on.
I think there's noise. I'm pretty convinced there's something going on, whether it's a field or but I do think that if they're higher and further away, then that's less of an impact.
Yeah, well, that'll be taking one of the variables out, so it'll be interesting to see what what comes of that, if there's any change?
What I don't like is it's a really shitty angle to like an ID deer, and you don't cover as much because you're basically shooting down rather than out, so you don't get as much. But
there's no perfect,
I think it's worth it to try. So I'm gonna try. I know there's been guys. This is nothing new. Guys have said this. I just haven't quite seen it myself. Yeah. But the more I start to think about stuff,
I mean, like the reaction and the body language and stuff is pretty clear. So,
well, and one of the deer. So we can get to. I mean, I tracked the bigger one got killed. I'm pretty sure. But the 6-year-old, we tracked him.
Yeah. So that was December 3rd or 5th.
I don't know.
Hold on, I'll tell you in 1 second. It was December 3rd.
And that was another example.
Yeah. And
I didn't have pictures of that buck. Actually, probably the last picture was him skirting that camera across on the log road there.
Yeah, I think that whole thing highlighted a lot of the other stuff that we've been talking about. Too. So let's talk through that whole day.
Yeah, I mean, it was basic. Yeah, it did. It totally did. 100%. So it was, and I'll say, like, I was mostly hunting a particular buck this year, but, like, the two other ones in there, I was hunting them too. Like, I for sure was after them as well. And I was hunting spots where they all kind of came together. So, while, like, maybe these other two bucks were, like, on the B team, like, I still would have shot them. I was still considering them when I hunted. And just because, how do I say this? If those other two bucks were my targets, particularly that older one that I think is camera shy, this year would have been a total failure. Because I think I totally screwed it up with him, with that deer. Like, I think I totally screwed it up. I don't feel that I did as much with the big one. I think I still was kind of in the game even towards the end, just because I don't know that he had went through that area as much. I still think there was a possibility he could have swung through. Like, I don't know that I think he had he seemed to be more nomadic, where he would be in an area that's a mile here and a mile there. So I still think that he didn't seem to be where I was hunting him. I was kind of waiting for him to come through there. And I actually do think he would have at some point, but I kind of ran out of time, and then he died. Like, literally, I think he got killed like the day I stopped hunting or something like that. So it was like, well, that's fitting because it was over. But if I was just hunting that old one, I think it would have been a complete failure. And I think it was kind of a failure to an extent. I hunted for that long and didn't see one of those deer.
So we went up there.
Yeah.
I don't remember what day of the week it was. It was
midweek.
It was good weather. We got a good amount of snow.
Yeah.
Nice,
we probably
stuff.
had 8 to 10, I think.
Yeah,
and it was fresh. And it was one of these things where it's like, I don't have pictures of this buck. I'll look at that and tell you when that picture was. It was in the 20s, I would assume, when I had that pic of him doing the skirty skirt. I wish we could. I would post it, but I just probably not a good idea to post bucks that I know are alive. But if people weren't a-holes and try to find your spots, I'd post it, but I'm not going to find your bucks in your spots. So it was on the 21st. So that was the last video. It was down at the bottom of this drainage, crossing a skid road. And I basically feel like he lived within this drainage. Like, like the mountainsides on both sides, the drainage is set like this little drain going up. And I'd get him on this mountain, and we'd get him up on this mountain, and I hunted him here. But it seemed like he was just right in there. And just, once again, not that many pictures, but you just start to get a feel for things and get a feel like, I think this deer is right here.
Yeah, and just to kind of paint a picture, it's like that drainage comes down. There's like a pocket of sprucey stuff, thicker like bedding cover, and then there's a cut directly below that. So
there's a big, like the bottom half of well, really both mountains are cut. Mm-hmm. One goes a little higher on one side than the other, but it's basically like spruce and some oak up there too, mature timber up high, saddle there, and then there's just a drainage in between with a creek, and there's oak in that drainage, and it's really good habitat in there. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty like like I don't go in there very often, kind of on purpose, because it's like those drains are tough to actually sit in because of the wind, and it's kind of just like I know they're in there, I just will hunt the edges type of thing.
Yeah.
Although that is like something I've hunted in that drainage in the past. I'm thinking about also trying to find a setup in that drainage that I can get to. I think the creek that runs down there from the base that goes up, I think that is good access to that drainage. If you stay in the creek, just trying to get a good wind is the challenge. But it may be something where if there's a couple really calm days, you can put a couple days in. But once again, I don't think that's a spot you can hunt for a week or more without blowing it up. So anyway, but when you have tracking snow and you go one day, you know where to find him. So anyways, I assume not many pictures of this deer, but I just think he's in there. It's like we literally go up the drainage, and it's like I'm not even to where I think is the middle of his core, and it's like there's his track.
Yeah,
we were just 300 yards from when we went up to like, all right, we're going up towards, and it's like there it is. Do I know it's his track right away? No, I don't know it's his track, but it's a big buck track. And I'm like, well, I mean, probably good chance it's him. And so we follow it up into that drainage, and it really goes right up into it, like into the core of it. And he's with some does. Did he get with does? Was he by himself at first and then got with those does? I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
He ran into some does. They were bedded.
Yeah, he picked up their track, like went and bedded down with them.
Yeah, he wasn't with them very long. He might have even like got up on them when they were bedded and like got them up, and then they bedded back down. So he's bedded with those. We bumped him pretty quick after. I mean, within probably at least an hour, probably even half an hour of getting on his track. Then he went up the mountain, and I almost think he was bedded on the other side of the does, and we bumped the does, and they ran through him because he was with 3 does, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And one of them peeled off. 2 of them went with him, and then he split from them pretty soon after. And you could see a spot where he just turned around and just looked back down the drainage. And he was standing there, and we gave him time. Yeah, we gave him time for sure. And he didn't see us, so he just went back to his business.
Yep. And
he wasn't really that far from where we were going. And he was basically headed up to that spot where I had sat and thought that I had blown up, but like right there. And he came up and he wrapped around that mountain point, and he was going right onto that like little bench with oak, and I'm like, he's going to be right here.
So the top of that mountain, or the top of that little
that point is
that
cut.
Point, there's a thick cut.
Yep.
There's like a strip of oaks.
Yep.
And it's a nice flat spot, and opens up real nice, and then it drops off steep on the backside of that.
Yeah, that strip is just below the top. There's not much elevation change from like the cut area up on the top of the point. And this point's big. It's not like a typical
couple hundred yards.
Oh, it's big. I mean, it's bigger than that. It's probably the whole thing is. It's a decent. It's not like you couldn't shoot across it with a gun.
No.
It's it's a bigger point. So it's not like some people think point of a mountain. They're thinking like micro, like it's like sit on one side of the point. It's 50, 60 yards. It's like a bigger point with a cut. I mean, the cut's probably 5-6 acres on the top anyway, and then so. And there's a strip of like mature-ish woods on most of the point around it, and they seem to run that with like around the cut. And so he was wrapping in that mature woods, just wrapping towards. Didn't want to go through the middle of the cut. The cut's also kind of open up there, and it's kind of grown up to the point. This is not a lot for him in there, and there. He's always wrapping. He's going right towards like in front of the stand I was hunting, and I'm like, I know I told you, I'm like, we might kill this deer like right now. Like I think he's going to be right there eating acorns.
And right as we said that, we're like the wind.
And then the wind hit us in the back of the neck. Yeah, and he winded us for sure. I don't think we were more than 100 from him when he winded us. I think we could have been 80.
Yeah, we were creeping pretty slow.
We basically, we were creeping, and we basically, I am very confident that the wind was not doing that, we would have killed that buck. I'm just like he was almost exactly where I figured he'd be, within a 50-yard area, and he was eating acorns. He had his head in the snow. He was eating acorns. In the woods, we had a little bit of a topography. We're a little bit above him, working down, not like a lot, but enough that it was a visual advantage. And those woods, since it was those mature woods, were like a mix of like birch, maple, and oak and spruce, but pretty open on the hardwoods, but enough pocketed spruce so you could stay hidden, move. You could see to shoot, but also you had cover to move. Pretty perfect. Anyway, we got there. He was feeding in the snow. Could see his beams because he's got long beams in the snow. And I'm like, that's just got to be him. Like, it's got to be him. And it was like multiple. And you fed there for probably 25 minutes, it seemed like, by the feeding sign. And then, of course, running track, leaving it because he got our wind. And so he was right on that same bench where I have 2 cameras, but I didn't get him on either of the cameras. And
he went like just out of range.
And maybe because he knew it was there. I don't know. I don't know why exactly.
So he goes down off the backside.
But even like when he swung in, because we stayed right tight to the cup, but he had swung down, and he was like right near when he came in, like right behind the camera.
Yeah.
Like he like went right by it, but didn't get him. And then when he left, he went by it too, but he avoided it again. So basically, if you think about like, he basically went like this around the cameras. You know what I mean? And so part of it was maybe him running because we jumped him, but I think part of it's just because he knew they were there. And it's like I did get video of him on a windy day before I adjusted the cameras on November 1st. He was in there in daylight, under the same oaks. So that tells me 2 things. That deer was right where we thought he was. I didn't even have pictures of him in there. I don't have cameras in that drainage, but like,
yeah.
He's right there. So did I need cameras to know that? No, I didn't need cameras to know that.
And
he avoided the cameras where I was sitting, but he was still going through there. And then,
and where we bumped him off feeding, he was within gun range of your tree stand.
Yeah.
He was
for sure. I could have shot him with a rifle easy.
Probably.
And maybe even with a bow when he came back through. I don't know. Depends. I mean, I wasn't really like breaking that down. So we went by my tree stand. No pictures.
And the wind would have been perfect for that.
Yeah. And that is the spot that I think I impacted, but that was also 2 weeks later than when I left. So who knows? I don't know. The second part of that is we followed that buck for probably 5 miles that day, I think we ended up doing.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which it seemed longer, but
bailed down off the backside.
Yep. Swung down through, backside, ran.
Bumped a little buck that we thought was him.
Yeah, cost us time.
Yeah, cost us a while. He starts to wrap like the side
kind
hill.
Of rack up.
He did not want to go into those open woods. There was like the transition between the.
Yeah.
It was right like where that stone wall.
Yeah, he could have cut across that down and open and back up.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's that, but also there's the topography kind of pulls you by there. And that's why I have that stand there. And he walked 20 yards from another stand I have.
Yeah.
And that's one of the stands I'm telling you that would be good, but it's 3 miles to get into it. And so this is the thing that really was like the camera thing clicked. It's been starting to click for like 2 years. But that buck walked by another one of my cameras, and he did walk by it. He walked right by it. I've never had him on that camera ever. And I've known about that buck since he was probably 3. So this is year 4. Maybe I knew about him before, but like I could ID him at 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 years. I've never had him on that camera. It's kind of like, it's definitely in his home range, but it's like out of his core. And I think we bumped him out of his core, so that makes sense. So we pushed him into an area that he probably doesn't go in all that often. And now he's cruising using the topography, which is naturally going to bring him by this camera and the stand. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's
like right on the edge of a steep drop-off that goes down to this little drain.
Head of a drainage. Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. To go through there. And this camera was covered with fresh snow. Like snow on the camera body on the front of it, snow on the top of it, like not obvious at all. And he wasn't like 5 feet from it. He was what would you say, 10, 15 yards, something like that. Like, enough that, like, I don't think he'll see that one. Dude, and he's never seen this camera before, as far as I know. Maybe he's seen it and he didn't walk in front of it. But he literally, the first picture, I take 3 pictures in a video. The first picture is him walking, cruising. Second picture is, third picture, then the video is him just staring at the camera. And at the end of the video, he just, like, lays his ear back and does, like, a stiff-legged, like, tail down walk away from, once again, that freaking ewe, that skirting it. And I'm just like, we're talking a cruising buck that got bumped in an area he's not familiar with. I shouldn't say that. He probably is. I just have never got him on that. Not even one like, lock up and look, and, like, never in 4 years. So how did he see that thing? He wasn't even looking at it. He was looking. It was, like, here, and he just, like, first picture, he wasn't looking at it. Then all of a sudden, whoosh, locks on that thing. And it's like, I don't think he saw it. I think he heard it or sensed it or something.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably never walk that trail again either.
So we thought we were probably like an hour behind him, and then we pulled the car.
I was thinking like 45.
Right, yeah, we thought we were not like that far.
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, he had covered some ground pretty quick.
Yeah, quick. And we never caught him, really. He looped a new cut. He looped over a saddle, which he had been earlier in the year, earlier in November on that saddle, so I wasn't surprised about that. I mean, okay, here's the other thing I'll tell you that tells me I don't need cameras is there wasn't a single thing that buck did that day that surprised me other than going right back where he started. But that doesn't really surprise me the more I think about it. The more I think about what he did, it made total sense. I mean, I even said to you, I was like, he's either going to be bedded on the saddle or he's going to blow over the top of it and he's going to go down the back and we have to, like, go. And then he got into that new cut and it was just like, there wasn't any, if you're tracking in like a new area and you track a big buck all day, you're going to learn stuff. And I think it gets to the point when you get familiar with some of these areas that, like, I didn't learn. I could have predicted all that, and there was, like, finding him where he was and then where he went was, like, totally predictable. Even when you think about it, the whole swinging back, because what he did was he basically this giant 5-mile loop and went right back on our track, in his track from that morning, into that same drainage.
Yeah,
going right back up.
He did a loop around the entire mountain.
And it's like, well, yeah, because that's where he wants to be, because that's where he lives, which is what I've always thought.
Yeah, walked within 20 yards of the bed that we bumped him out of first thing in the morning.
And at that point, it was 3:30 and dark in an hour, and we tried to figure it out.
Yeah,
but it was like 4 o'clock by the time, and we actually didn't even figure out where he went. No, it was a mess in there. Because the problem we had is it was fresh snow and it was cold that day, so, like, the track wasn't aging quickly. So his tracks from 7 a.m. looked not much different from his tracks from 2 p.m., which he probably came back in there. If you think about it, it was probably noon. Yeah, is probably when we got back. We didn't get in there till 3 o'clock though. So from 7 or 8 till noon, 4 hours difference, powder, cold, not much of a difference in the track. So it was tough to tell what was his, track from earlier and what was his track from there. And he had got with does at that point. Remember, he picked up those does in that cut, and he was running with those 2 does. And so they were in there too. So he had 3 more sets. Yeah, it was just a mess. And there was 3 does in there to begin with. So it was a mess. But, nothing. So the point is I didn't need trail cameras to know any of that stuff or find that buck or know what he was doing. The only thing the trail cameras did that day is when we checked the card on that cell, because we walked right by it. And I was like, I think this is probably him, but let's see what buck it is to know. And sure enough, it was him.
Something that we had talked about before was just that how much you can learn tracking, and that you had made some comment about you follow a deer forever and he's just going to take you through all these different pinch points. Well,
and that's what that deer did.
Exactly what he did.
And I knew every one of them. Yeah. I knew that's my point is it gets to a point where you know these deer in these spots and you have enough experience that, like, you just got to hunt them based on, like, what you know. And like the trail cameras are great to know they're alive and in the area and like at least using this part of the mountain. But like I just don't think they're very useful past that. Like if you're chasing pictures, dude, good luck. I mean, maybe you can get into a situation where that makes sense. But like I will say too, this year I pretty much hunted off historical data. I mean, the spot I hunted for that big one, where I spent the most time, I had one picture of him this year total. And it was in October. Like a month before I was hunting him. And I just sat there on it because he'd been there last year and the year before. So like, and I didn't see him there, but I also think, like I said, I negatively affected the area. Potentially on him. Tough to say. But that's the thing. It's like, I think you want to lean heavy on the cameras in new areas when you start to learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can. But once you gain that like core of information and you can put it together with like maybe tracking a deer or it's just boots on the ground scouting, I just think backing off them I think it's the move. But of course, in the past, I've always been like, no, double down. I don't know. I don't know if that's put 2 cameras in that spot. There's 3 cameras, like cluster your cameras around the spots so you think, yeah, just make it so they just can't like. Deer's like, like taking his picture. Every way he turns, it's like paparazzi.
Yeah.
I don't think they like that.
Yeah.
I don't think they like that at all.
Yeah,
I think it's a bad idea now. Like I said, I think you can do it like tactfully in a way that makes sense probably, and like hide them and like run them. You know, the other thing I've noticed too is it seems like when those deer, I haven't had a deer walk by a camera, like say it's on, essentially he wouldn't be able to see that camera until he's like dead even with it,
yeah,
but
like
he's walking this way.
Perpendicular to the camera.
Yeah, and he's walking, basically the picture is the back of his rack. Everybody knows the picture. He's walking by the camera, get the back of his rack. It doesn't seem like they're spooking when that's the scenario. Mm. It seems like it's when they're coming at it. And I don't know if it's because maybe their ears are trained on that area and they can hear it better, whereas like if they're walking, I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's not 100% a visual thing. There is some audible or field or something that they are, that buck senses. I'm freaking convinced of it.
Or he's just really tuned into what they look like and can pick them out.
Dude, I just don't see it with that one.
Yeah.
Especially since the first picture was not him like coming in looking. It was like him looking this way, camera's here. And the second picture after it clicked is, and that camera was hidden. Like it was covered with snow. Like it did not stick out in that fresh snow environment at all.
You told me there was a camera up there, and I didn't see it until we were 10 yards away from the thing.
Yeah, and you were probably looking for it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my conclusion and my thoughts from this year. I'm actually excited to do that as well. Like try to just run them different and see the impact. I always want to learn, like, and improve. I know that I'm not going to be pumped about the pictures and videos I get because they're just going to suck compared to, like, I got some beautiful pictures and videos of these deer. Like, really, like, they're awesome, but I just don't know if it's good. And it's weird because sometimes it seems like they'll just, like, literally stick their face in the thing and, like it's not there. But then sometimes they freaking spook, and I think that it's not good. And you think about the times where you get a buck one time in one spot, he doesn't come back, and you know he saw the camera. Well, if that camera is there, would he just continue to come back? Like if you had a camera, an invisible camera that they could send, would you have that deer like 3 times a week walking that trail hitting that? I don't know. And then it makes me think back to I've run cameras on like these scrapes for years, and it's like, is that the use of that scrape being affected by that camera being there?
Yeah.
I think maybe. I think in some instances it absolutely has. So it's just weird because sometimes in some setups it seems like they don't care with the same brand of camera, the same everything's the same, but then in another time they'll like wig out and like look at it and be like, what's that? I've had bucks literally bed right in front of trail cameras, mature bucks, for like 3 hours, like right there. Don't even look at it. For 3 hours, they're just sitting there, bedding, looking around. They'll never look at the camera, not even one time. So it's like, well, you would think that if I've had them do that at night, I've had them do it during the day. Why? What's the difference? I don't know, but there's something.
I'd be curious to talk to Steve Shark about that, because I know he runs a lot of cameras that are not cell cameras, because he doesn't have service where he's at, and if he notices the same thing or if there's any difference, if it's the cell aspect of it or
maybe. So the thing I'm struggling with that is, I think these bucks or these deer are picking it up right away when it takes a picture or video. You wouldn't
there is a noise.
Think some of them, yeah, some of them I really can't hear it or see it in the dark, because I test them. I'll go in and like at night or in the house even when it's dead calm, and I'll like walk up and I'll like put my ear and I'm like staring. I mean, some of them I literally cannot hear or see anything. And they take pictures. I check that's taking pictures. I'm staring at it like this and nothing. So I don't know. You would think, though, I don't know how the cell cameras work, but you would think that when think about this. You know when you can have the delayed transmission on the cameras, you can set it to send after the fact.
Which all those were.
They weren't. I turned those to those were sent to instant. I go back and forth with how I set them throughout the year.
Yep.
Those ones in particular, I can make them send. I can essentially log out of the app.
Yep. And
there's record of it. So, and I do like to do that when I'm hunting hard, is do that log out, and it has like we're big surprise. We're talking about New Hampshire. We're using cell camera data from in the same calendar day is illegal. So I'm basically, which I think that law is a pain in the ass, but I definitely don't disagree with its intent. I definitely don't. I mean, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a pain. I don't know how enforceable it is. It's kind of like, it's a weird one, but I think that's probably good. I don't think that for your hunting, I don't think chasing camera pictures is like, in most scenarios, is going to, at least in New Hampshire, is going to like help you.
Unless it's like early season, you get a deer going into a bedding area or something, and
yeah, but even that I don't. Yeah, maybe. Then there's just ethical reason that is like, I don't know. I don't think you need to either. But I'm wondering if, thinking back, it does seem so. This year I had them on delayed send earlier in the year, and then I ended up turning them to an instant send or a real time in like November. And I'm wondering if maybe the second that camera is activated, it's not only taking a picture, but that modem or whatever is getting turned on at the same time. So while it's not sending yet because it's still taking pictures, maybe that's firing up. And I'm sure someone that knows cell cams could explain how the mechanics work and the sequencing of that circuit. But now that I'm thinking about it seems like those deer weren't paying much attention to it earlier. It could just be the nature of those deer. I feel like in November they're in their best form. They're just way more relaxed earlier in the season. So maybe they're more tolerant. I don't know. It's a lot here, and the problem is there's a lot of variables that you can't really control for when you're trying to figure this stuff out. I've also, and I've had it too, but so many people have told me, and I've seen it too myself. It's like you have these cell cams out, and then you have a regular camera, and you don't check it till after the season. You're like, fuck, that was the spot. The regular camera was on. So it's like, so maybe. Is that a coincidence? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe the transmission thing is affecting them. But maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think if now that I'm thinking about this as I'm talking through this. I talk about that 6x trail. I never had cell cameras on until this year. And he was on it. That's how I know it's his trail.
Yeah.
And he didn't seem to pay much attention. So I wonder if it's the transmission thing.
That's interesting. I mean, did you notice when you had it on the delay? Did you notice any difference?
It's tough to say.
Hard to say, yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't worried about it when I had it on the delayed transmission. But this November, I've really started to think that's something to. I don't know how you test that. How do you test that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know? I don't know. I know there's people that have said this, plenty of them, that self cameras spook deer, trail cameras spook deer. I'm starting to believe them. And
I mean, I guess that would be the test to run like on the same trail and see. I mean, again, it's not gonna. It wouldn't be perfect, but you see.
No, it's not perfect because you got to think. Well, that deer knew there was a cell camera on that trail last year. He moved his trail. I put a cell camera, so maybe he's gonna be able to take a totally different trail. Yeah, I guess if you found the third trail he made and put a regular camera on it, and then he just walks by it 3 times, it's like, oh. I also think it probably has to do with like the brand of camera, the shape of the camera, like the flash, the shutter. Like there's probably a lot of variables here. So I don't know. It's to be honest, I don't think it's something I'm going to be able to come to a conclusion on.
Yeah,
I don't think
something you wonder about.
I think it's going to be something I don't know, but I do think it's affecting him, and just from what have done this year, I think that pulling them off, running less of them, running them not in high focal areas or a plain hunt, and if I do, pulling them double the distance up in a tree, and maybe putting it where they're mostly walking, it's like looking down here and they're coming in like this. You know what I mean? Like they're not walking where they could be like looking right at it. Mm-hmm. Trying to hide that. And what it's going to, like I said, it's going to give shittier pictures. It's going to do less pictures, but maybe it's going to affect them less. That's something I could try. Wait till I get that freaking 6x from 40 yards. I got the camera like 20 feet in the trees like, oh my God. I'm like, shit. Okay, something's going on here.
You're just going to stop using cameras
yeah,
after that?
Well, and I do think to learn a new spot, they're critical. To identify a big deer or a deer you're interested in, they're critical. To gain intel, they're definitely critical. But I think once you have that information, maybe just backing them off a little bit. Maybe don't put them right in these. I mean, I'll experiment. The one thing I can definitely experiment with is running them in that fashion that I described. Higher up and off back stuff off. Mm. I can try that. I hate that angle. But it's just like I went from a single pin slider to a multi-pin sight because I just think it's better for the hunting strategy. I hate the sight picture on a multi-pin sight. I just like the one pin.
Yeah, I agree.
But I know that it's going to bite me, and that's why I went to multi-pin sights. I don't like them as much as a single pin, but I think it's a better solution. So it's like it's a preference thing, but it's like ultimately like I'm results driven, so like I think that's going to yield a better result. So I'm going to try it next year.
It's worth a try.
So that's my takeaways from the season in the mountains. And I don't know, like I feel like I learned stuff this year. I don't know that I learned much about those deer other than that I don't think they like cameras, and that I learned that I'm right about what they do, and like I think I'm onto these suckers. Like I think I really have a good understanding in these particular areas. I mean, I had another spot that I had pretty dialed too. I sent another guy up in there, and if he had stayed like one more afternoon, he bailed. He probably would have killed. Mm-hmm. Well, it was Corey Winch. We did a podcast. I forgot that that's out there, so yeah, I don't need to hide that. But yeah, Corey, if he stayed, I don't know if we talked, but he didn't end up shooting one. But like the day he left, so he hunted till like noon, and then he left. He had to go home, or I don't know what he did. But that afternoon, a big buck walked by under the stand he was in, mm-hmm. And that was the spot I felt. That was actually the hottest spot that we had, and it didn't seem like the cell was affecting him there.
A lot of, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I really don't.
A lot of days in the woods, not a lot to show for it other than some good trail camera pictures. With us 2 hours behind a deer, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't know. Like I don't like. I also just don't care that I didn't kill one kill one in Maine, but in the Northeast. Haven't killed one in New York. Still could next week. Probably not, though. Probably just going to try to – I need to get the doe numbers down out there. So I think the main objective is going to be get the numbers down and just doe hunt for, like, as much as I can. Still get a bunch of tags. So I don't know. It's funny, but, like, the older I get, the less I care if I fill a tag. I think it's like I'm more interested to hunt for, like, 3 years for a buck or a couple bucks and then kill them the way I want to kill them. Mm-hmm. Then just kill I don't like that's fine. Like kill them every year. Like I'm good with it. I had a good time and I got to spend more time in the woods this November than I ever have. Honestly, I can say that without a doubt. More hours. It was awesome. Yeah. It sounds like we got someone coming down here. You gonna make your first appearance?
So awesome that you've been spending the most hours ever in the woods.
I said this November. So, yeah, I think that's probably the takeaway.
Still got the holiday hunt with the boys.
So, the holiday hunt, still got Iowa, and then it will be over finally. But, yeah, it's still stuff going on. Then we get into planning for next year. I mean, I already – it seems like you start planning. I'm sitting in that stand in November thinking about next year. Like, I could do this different, These sticking freaking trail camera. You know, like I'm thinking like, these are all the things you think about when you're in the stand for many hours, you know, day after day. Mm-hmm.
Or
what else?
You can just take all your cameras out of the woods and just go hunt.
I'm thinking about it.
Lots to
think
about.
You know, I was actually listening to, I saw something the other day. Cody DeQuisto he doesn't do trail cameras anymore. He's a lone wolf, you know, Andre's son and lone wolf custom guy. I don't know what he does for them, marketing, whatever. He got rid of he doesn't run cameras anymore, and he's saying similar stuff. Oh, I should say also, furthermore, I guess I just totally omitted this. I had some pictures in the snow of, you know, like a check-in picture, fresh snow. The next check-in picture, no pictures in between, deer tracks going right in front of the camera. It's like, what the hell? Like, no picture. Mm. So, to the point of, like, not relying on these things, like, not only do I think they spook deer, but I think they're missing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think they all do. I think they all miss a lot of stuff. So, once again, not relying on those things I think is a great idea. But anyway, Cody was talking about not using them at all. And he did say if he hunted in an area or, you know, if you were in an area that was, you know, big woods, how are you going to know what's out there?
Yeah.
You don't know unless you're okay with that. And that's my biggest struggle is without them is how do I know what buck's out there? Because there's a pretty good chance because I hunt, if I don't have their picture and I'm hunting on sign and just whatever, historical data and good spots, I could have the biggest buck in that area walk by me and I don't even shoot him because it's not a buck I want. So I could sit for 10 days, have the biggest buck walk out, and it's like, well, I think there's probably a bigger one in there, but there isn't. And I don't know that, you know. So
if you might have one encounter in 10 or 20 sits and you don't know the inventory.
So I kind of want to know the caliber of buck and the age class of buck that I'm after is in that area.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point. That's probably what I'm going to use them for mostly is determining that and less about like all but ignore them other than knowing, hey, that buck's in this area this year and he's doing similar stuff. That's it. That's all I need to know. And I really did mostly use them like that this year, honestly. I just think I still had too many in spots that weren't good spots to have them in. I'll probably have the same amount because I cut like literally half of them out of there. I'll probably have the same amount this year. I'm just going to put them in different spots just so that I know what's around. Hey, is he hanging more to the north part of the piece this year? Is to the south? Is he even in there? Like those things. Is he a giant? Like, did the deer go from a whatever to what? Like, is he a freaking? I want to know that. Like, I want to know. where to spend my effort, I guess. That's what I'm using them for.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I just think I'm going to not pay much attention. It's tough, though. It's tough not to fall into that trap of, like, you know, really using them to dictate your, like, day-to-day. Like, and it got – I don't know that I'll say it got like that for me in New Hampshire. I don't think it really did because I almost didn't want to get their picture. It was almost like if I got their picture in a spot, I wouldn't want to hunt there because I'm like, he ain't going to be there for 4 or 5 days. But I guess that still is dictating where I go. It's just I'm not chasing the cameras. I'm like trying to stay ahead of them, I guess. Which I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. But I just don't think – just throw it out. I mean, I've also seen deer in the same spot, like that buck I killed there. Back-to-back mornings, same spot. So if I was using cameras to say, well, he's not coming through again, he just came through this morning, I need to go somewhere else, I wouldn't have been there. So
when it works, you look like the smartest guy in the world. When it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a takeaway. Good season, though. And then, like, it seems like there was a ton of big deer killed, which is awesome. Like, I mean, I haven't seen, like, a really good deer. I mean, a bunch of guys killed great bucks. It was awesome to see. I know Isaac and Connor. Yeah. And I want to get all those. And Johnny Stewart had like monster years. I was like, oh my God, they just killed I think they killed like 5 big ones each. It was insane.
Yeah. I think what I was saying about being satisfied with one buck, I don't think that applies to them. I think
no, they're still in the
they're still going.
They're still like in the stage where they. I mean, I was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had awesome years. Those are the guys that stood out to me. I'm trying to think. There was a couple other guys too. Who else? I don't know. There was a bunch of guys. Honestly, like there was guys that had great years. So congrats to everybody. I think it was a great year. And then even some of the giants I know are alive. Are alive still. Like that I know that are out there. That I heard of, I guess. And I thought that, I don't know. It's surprising that some of these deer make it and slip through the cracks. I think it was a great antler growing year. I think this is deer made good jumps. It'll be interesting to see how this winter plays out. From what I hear, the mass crop was pocketed this year. It was good in the areas that I hunt. So I think that's a really positive thing for them going into the winter. It's been cold from October through now, so that's not a great thing, but we haven't had that much snow. I think we're getting some. I think if you're staying, though, like a foot and under for most of the winter, I think it's fine. I think the issue is when you get that really late snow, February and March, even in early April, deep snow that lingers, almost till May. I think that really can hammer them hard, and either it can kill them or it puts them at a huge deficit going into the growing season. So if they can maintain some sort of a level of probably is what it is, fat stores and skeletals, like the minerals they store in their skeleton. That's what I understand. I've been told. If they can keep those, stay in a good condition going into green, to get to green up in just a reasonable condition. They're going to be skinny, of course, and look mangy, right? That's how it happens. But if they can make it through in decent condition, I think they have a really good chance to grow a good rack. I think it's when they go in really depleted and run down and barely survive the winter. I just don't think there's much left over in these deer to do much, antler-wise and make many jumps. So we'll see. But then again, they're pretty amazing animals and seem to surprise you every year. So, yeah, we'll see. That's kind of a wrap for the mountain hunting. Got some farm country hunting left.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some Ohio hill country hunting.
Maybe I'll have a change of heart and go buy a mass tag next week. Or maybe I'll take my skis out and get those waxed up. I haven't.
You could do that too.
Yeah.
Is there much snow though? I guess there's probably some now. Well, it's snowing right now. How much is out there?
There was probably 3 inches in the driveway when I got here.
When I go home, there was probably just less than an inch, so it's been snowing. So it should be a white Christmas. Hopefully it doesn't pile up too deep. Actually, I know someone that has already found a shed off of one of the bucks we had pictures of this year. She found it today maybe. Yesterday. I can't remember. This morning, I think. So buck shed on the 23rd or before of of December. That's not abnormal, but it just shows you. I don't know. I think when it's colder, earlier for longer, there's a decent chance they can shed a little earlier. But I think that happens every year. We get them that shed in late December.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We got some good guests, I think, coming up. I'm excited for.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit. We're going to try and crank some out here.
Yeah, and I think all of the guests that we have in mind, well, except for maybe one, we'll see how he's doing, but had pretty good seasons, and I'm excited to talk to them and touch base. So, we're going to dive into some cool stuff this podcast season, I guess we'll say, and see how it goes. So thanks for watching, listening to us ramble, and just wrapping up and putting together our thoughts from 3 months of hunting. And we'll see you on the next one.